Welcome to this explainer. It's so easy to get caught up in the weekend headlines, right? The screaming fans, the post-match interviews, the drama. But today, we're doing something different. We're uncovering the mastermind who literally redefined modern football talent management. If you're the kind of fan who loves understanding how global football empires are actually built, not by the loudest voices, but by the sharpest minds, well, you are in exactly the right place.
Every single weekend, we're all completely captivated by touchline drama. I mean, the stunning goals, the crazy celebrations, managers just furiously arguing with referees. It's this emotional, spotlight-demanding chaos that completely takes over our screens. But here's the thing. The true foundation of a winning club, it's not built there. It's built in the analytical silence of offices and scouting departments way before a player ever even steps onto the grass. Basically, those grueling matches you're watching on a Saturday, they were actually won years prior by the visionaries operating behind closed doors, carefully and quietly putting all the pieces together.
Which naturally leads us to a pretty massive question. Who builds the stage for the stars to shine? We all know the names of the prolific goal scorers for sure, but who actually found them? Who looked at them and recognized that world-class potential when literally no one else did? Well, meet Michael Emenalo. He is without a doubt one of the most influential African football thinkers of our modern era. Now, Emenalo didn't demand the spotlight, not at all. But his strategic vision, it fundamentally changed the future of the sport. He is the quiet architect who built the very systems that allow our favorite superstars to take that stage.
So, where does a story like this actually start? It started in Abia State, Nigeria. Growing up and developing his passion for the game right there instilled in him this incredible, deep-rooted resilience. And it's a resilience that he'd eventually pack up and carry across the globe, straight into some of the most fiercely competitive, frankly ruthless, sporting environments in the world. Actually, his roots in Nigeria became the absolute bedrock of his global perspective, really grounding him as he navigated the super complex and often totally unforgiving upper echelons of world football. But before he was off architecting these massive football empires, he was a student of the game in the most literal sense possible. He basically used the pitch as his classroom. Emenalo played professionally as a disciplined left back, and if you know the game, you know that position demands immense tactical awareness, constant spatial anticipation, and a really deep understanding of both defensive and offensive transitions. By playing at that high level, he was just soaking it all in, absorbing the physical demands, the intricate tactical nuances, and the heavy emotional weight of the game firsthand. He wasn't just kicking a ball around, he was decoding the entire system from the inside out.
And his playing career? Yeah, it definitely wasn't just a straight line. It was more like this sprawling global football education. Starting in Nigeria, he moved over to the United States and then navigated his way through all these diverse footballing cultures in Europe. We're talking Belgium, Germany, England, Spain, plus a stint in Israel. Every single stop was basically a masterclass in different systems, different tactical philosophies, and varying competitive standards. And all of this culminated in a truly historic appearance representing the thrilling Super Eagles at the 1994 FIFA World Cup, really announcing their dynamic talent to the entire globe.
Now, transitioning from the raw, adrenaline-fueled instincts of the dressing room over to the calculating, highly analytical environment of the boardroom, that is incredibly rare. Honestly, a lot of former players genuinely struggle with that leap. They just can't seem to translate their pitch vision into long-term corporate strategy. But Emenalo, he navigated it with this striking intelligence, immense patience, and a really quiet authority. He essentially took the profound empathy of a former player, knowing exactly what athletes actually need to succeed, and seamlessly combined it with the cold, hard logic of a top-tier executive.
Because let's face it, in modern football, the stakes are absolutely astronomical. The saying goes, one wrong signing can cost millions, and that is spot on. Through his early work in scouting and player development, Emenalo proved he could think way past the immediate hype of a flashy transfer or a viral highlight reel. He honed this just priceless judgment. He wasn't just looking at how fast the player could run or how hard they could strike a ball. He was deeply analyzing their character, their mental fortitude under pressure, and precisely how they'd fit into a really complex, long-term tactical structure. And that kind of holistic judgment is exactly what separates the good clubs from the legendary ones. And it was exactly this immaculate judgment that propelled his steady, deliberate rise at Chelsea Football Club. In an era of instant gratification, Emenalo didn't just walk straight into the top job. Nope, he earned it step by step, starting as a scout, moving up to assistant, first-team coach, and finally ascending to the massive role of technical director. He pulled this off during an era at Stamford Bridge that was just absolutely dripping with major domestic and European trophies. Yet, and this is key, his true legacy wasn't just the shiny silverware sitting in the cabinet. It was the sustainable, relentless machine he built to actually capture it.
You see, his masterpiece wasn't just signing big checks for already established stars. He engineered a completely self-sustaining ecosystem built on 3 core pillars. First, he totally reshaped the Chelsea Academy into a world-class development center that could consistently pump out elite talent. Second, he built this expansive, incredibly sophisticated global scouting network to identify that talent super early, way before the rivals even caught on. And third, perhaps most innovatively, he completely revolutionized the loan system. Instead of just shipping players off to get minutes, he transformed the loan network into a highly strategic developmental pathway and an absolute engine for massive value creation.
Just take a look at the results of that system, because they really speak for themselves. Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne, Mohamed Salah, N'Golo Kanté, Thibaut Courtois. I mean, wow. These aren't just good players. These are generational, global icons of the sport. Now, sure, not all of them hit their absolute peak wearing a Chelsea shirt, but that actually proves the larger point. Under Emenalo's watch, Chelsea became one of the most aggressive, sophisticated, and accurate talent identification machines the sport has literally ever seen. The sheer magnitude of this hit rate is staggering. It proves his system could repeatedly, predictably uncover diamonds in the rough. And Emenalo's strategic approach didn't just stay confined to London. His work laid down a definitive blueprint that elite clubs all over the world scrambled to emulate, because he proved that rigorous talent identification, deep academy integration, and strategic loan market utilization wasn't just a fluke. It was a replicable formula for absolute dominance. You can see his influence spreading everywhere now, from his work shaping operations at Monaco to his later high-level strategic influence in the rapidly expanding Saudi Pro League. His core philosophy? It's basically become the absolute gold standard for how modern elite football clubs are built and operated globally today.
Which brings us to a final thought to ponder today. As football gets louder, as the transfer fees get higher and higher, and the 24-hour media coverage just becomes more frantic, is the real game actually being won in the quiet of the boardroom? Think about it. The next time you're sitting on your couch, watching a superstar score a breathtaking goal on the world's biggest stage, don't just cheer for the player. Take a second to ask yourself, who is the quiet architect that built the system that put him there? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the smart questions, and I'll see you next time.
If this message opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to Master Sense by Faraday, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs wisdom, clarity, and inspiration today. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next powerful lesson. Remember, knowledge becomes power only when you act on it. See you in the next video.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are looking at a truly fascinating paradigm shift in leadership. You know, in the elite tiers of global football, the culture is just loud, it's chaotic, and it's relentlessly focused on the immediate present, the next game, the next headline. But what happens when someone decides to completely defy those norms? Today, we're exploring how Michael Emenalo bypassed all that noise and used a quiet, highly structured influence to build sustainable success at the absolute highest levels of the sport.
Okay, let's dive into this because this question gets to the absolute core of the tension in modern football. Every single weekend, managers are ruthlessly judged, and public panic sets in the second a team drops points. Consider this crazy stat. The average tenure of a Premier League manager is often less than 2 years. But dynasties, they aren't built on weekend reactions. They're built on long-term vision. So today's explainer forces us to look past the dramatic headlines and really examine the deeper, quieter mechanics of how lasting success is actually constructed.
Think back to his time at Chelsea. Now, this is a club historically famous for its intense expectations and literally having a revolving door of managers. In that environment, Emenalo often became a lightning rod for decisions that fans simply didn't understand in the moment. Yet he never panicked, not once. He deeply understood that leadership in this kind of pressure cooker requires an immense amount of patience, structure, and calm conviction, especially when everyone else is losing their heads.
And this brings us to a really stark contrast in operational styles. The standard, reactive football norm is driven entirely by the pressure of the very next match. It's basically about surviving the week. Emenalo's strategic vision, on the other hand, was totally countercultural. He had this rare ability to think in years, not weeks. Instead of just plugging immediate holes, he focused on the deep architecture of the squad. We're talking about the age profile, the strength of the academy, the overarching loan pathways. He was essentially planting seeds for trees he knew he might not sit under for years.
This leads us to an incredibly powerful concept, stewardship. Emenalo was fiercely protecting future benefits, like Chelsea's academy, even when short-term results caused intense public impatience. The media always wanted those immediate, incredibly expensive fixes. But he stood his ground and defended long-term investments. Now that takes a massive emotional toll. But he recognized that true leadership isn't measured solely by immediate applause. It's measured by your ability to hold your nerve when you are completely misunderstood by the masses. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Emenalo's quiet influence was built on 5 bedrock qualities. Notice how absolutely none of them involve self-promotion, shouting in the dressing room, or grabbing the microphone at a press conference. Instead, he relied on calmness under scrutiny, analytical judgment based on hard evidence, a long-term vision, deep people understanding, and institutional courage. It's a brilliant blueprint that prioritizes structure over ego every single time. I want to take a second to deep dive into that final trait, institutional courage. Honestly, this is perhaps the hardest quality for any leader to maintain. When the media noise is just deafening and fans are screaming for a blockbuster star signing, it is incredibly unpopular to say, no, we're going to trust our youth development. Emenalo had the institutional courage to defend squad renewal and academy integration when it was quite literally the hardest thing to do. He protected the organization's future from its own present impatience. And this brilliantly illustrates that Emenalo was not just an administrator. He was a builder of incredibly complex ecosystems: scouting, player welfare, coaching alignment, squad planning, and governance. They are all totally interconnected. Emenalo didn't see football success as just a product of isolated moments of individual brilliance. He saw it as a living, breathing system where data, psychology, and coaching have to perfectly align to create the exact conditions where talent can actually thrive. But to make that ecosystem actually work, you need a very specific type of operator right in the middle of it all. Emenalo was the ultimate bridge builder. He had to operate seamlessly between the billionaire owner, the high-profile coaches, the scouting network, and the senior players in the dressing room. This required incredible diplomacy and emotional control. He functioned as the vital, stabilizing link, constantly translating the grand ambitions of ownership into the practical, day-to-day realities required by coaches and young prospects. A massive part of that practical reality was his absolute belief in structured talent pathways. You know, most fans think a club's job ends when they identify and buy a talented kid. Emenalo understood that identifying talent is just step 1. The real challenge is managing the development. You have to provide the exact right loan environment, ensure they get the right competitive exposure, and then meticulously time their return to the first team or their sale. It's a disciplined patience that entirely avoids the trap of just hoarding promising names. Let's move to and see how this builds into how you actually evaluate who fits into this system. Emenalo didn't just rely on technical football judgment, like assessing if a player could pass, shoot, or tackle. No, he paired that with profound human understanding. He knew he had to assess whether a player could actually adapt to a new country, a totally new language, a massive club, and a highly complex dressing room. Because if the human element fails, the technical talent is completely wasted. So where did this deep human understanding come from? Well, it came directly from his own lived experience. Emenalo's global journey is just remarkable. From playing in Nigeria to navigating professional life across Europe and America, he absorbed exactly how different football cultures think, communicate, and compete. This immense cultural intelligence made him uniquely qualified for his roles, allowing him to read personalities and dressing room dynamics across continents in a way very, very few executives can.
This cultural intelligence and his systems mindset made him the absolute perfect fit for historic governance role in the Middle East. In 2023, he became the very first director of football for the Saudi Pro League. Now, at a time when the league was attracting massive global attention and investment, Emenalo wasn't just brought in to blindly chase star names. He was there to establish standards, frameworks, and a highly coordinated recruitment approach. He had to expertly balance the ambition of rapid growth with the absolute necessity of building a sustainable, professional ecosystem.
What we see throughout this explainer is that Emenalo's quiet, evidence-driven approach entirely transcends the sport of football. It applies directly to corporate business, to talent management, and really to any field where leaders are tasked with building the future before it becomes visible to the public. His legacy isn't built on catchy slogans or dramatic public gestures. It's built on trust, deep analysis, sheer courage, and the robust structures he strengthened that will absolutely outlast his tenure. His institution-minded philosophy can really be summed up by one incredible core idea. True leaders do not only chase the spotlight, they build the platform on which others discover their light. I love that. Emenalo proved that you can lead effectively without shouting, and you can completely influence an entire industry without constantly needing to stand in front of the camera. He was, at his core, a platform builder.
So the crucial point is this. Emenalo stands as a powerful symbol of African excellence and disciplined vision on the global stage. His story is deeply motivating for emerging leaders, talent builders, and really anyone who has ever wondered if quiet excellence can still matter in our incredibly noisy world. His impact spans the globe, permanently shaping how entire systems think about long-term growth versus short-term gratification.
Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought to take away from this explainer today. Look at your own work, your own field, your own leadership style. Are you caught up in the weekly panic, just chasing short-term applause and immediate results? Or are you willing to be misunderstood in the present so you can build the unseen systems and deep architecture for a future dynasty? It's a massive paradigm shift, but as we've seen today, it's truly the only way to build something that lasts.
If this message opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to MasterSense by Faraday, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs wisdom, clarity, and inspiration today. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next powerful lesson. Remember, knowledge becomes power only when you act on it. See you in the next video.